Troy is burning. Smoke everywhere. A young woman runs up the steps of a temple, trying to reach the one place that's supposed to be safe. She doesn't make it. Greek soldiers catch her on the stone, and Odysseus watches it happen. He doesn't move. He doesn't stop them. He just watches her die. Hold on to her face. You're going to see it again. Because for the rest of this movie, a goddess walks beside him. Athena. The only god Nolan ever lets you see. Right there at his shoulder. Silver eyes, guiding him home. And her face is the girl on the steps. Knowing she's a ghost is one thing. Living with what that means is another. Odysseus hasn't had one moment of peace in 20 years, and the reason is standing right next to him the whole time. He can't make her leave. He thinks her name is Athena. He thinks she's a god, but she's a girl he couldn't save. When Troy fell, his soldiers dragged her down on those temple steps while he stood frozen, and some part of him never left that spot. So his mind did the only thing it could. It kept her, gave her a name, made her holy, set her walking beside him so he'd never be alone with what he let happen, and you can see the grief in what she does, which is nothing. In the old stories, Athena fights for him, sword out, right in the middle of it. This one only watches. His own son tells him the gods are real, that he's seen those eyes, and it hurts too much. So Odysseus shuts him down. Stop looking for gods in men. You'll only be disappointed. Then he asks her, quiet, why the gods won't just speak to us. And she says, who doesn't understand pain? She would know. She's made of his. So is she real, or is she only his? Nolan won't answer that. And I don't think he's being coy. Some things a man carries can't be proven, and they can't be explained. They can only be carried. Odysseus carries her all the way home. You decide what that means. The Trojan Horse, the single most famous trick ever pulled. Every history class, every retelling. The smart Greeks outwit the dumb Trojans. Genius. Legendary. Nolan looked at that story and called it what it actually is. A war crime. Here's the part everyone skips. The Trojans weren't stupid. They didn't just wheel a horse through the gate. They found it left on the beach and called it a gift for the gods. They dragged it up to Athena's temple out of respect. They saved it from the waves, because you don't let a sacred offering rot in the surf. Every choice they made was an act of faith. And Odysseus knew that. He built the whole plan around it. He didn't beat their walls, he beat their kindness. Because there's one rule that holds this entire world together. They call it Zeus's law. It's simple. You treat every stranger, every guest, every gift as sacred. Because any one of them could be a god in disguise, testing you. It's the floor everyone stands on. It's the reason people who don't know each other can trade, travel, trust. And Odysseus took a hammer to it. He took the one thing keeping that world human, and he turned it into a weapon. He disguised death as a blessing. He used their own faith as the blade. And he knew, the whole time, exactly what he was doing. That's not cleverness. That's poisoning the well everyone drinks from. And breaking a law like that doesn't win a war. It ends a world. Verdict? Confirmed. The trick was the crime. I'll bet you thought the Cyclops scene would be the easy one. The one beat every version gets right. Man in a cave, tricks a giant, tells him his name is nobody. You've known that trick your whole life. So it's in the movie, obviously. It's not. Nolan threw it out. And before you say he ran out of time or got lazy, no. He replaced it with something on purpose, and the replacement is the whole game. No clever name, no wordplay. Instead, Odysseus blinds the thing, and then puts one more arrow in it as he runs. A spiteful one. Completely unnecessary. See what he did there? He had the most famous act of cunning in Western storytelling sitting right in front of him, and he swapped it for an act of rage. That's not a downgrade. That's the thesis. Nolan is telling you flat out, this Odysseus isn't winning with his mind anymore. He's lashing out, and it's going to cost him everything. The trick's gone, and the film is stronger for it. Confirmed. One claim about this movie refuses to die. Nolan cut the gods, made it grounded, no supernatural. Let me kill that theory with the movie itself. 3 pieces of evidence. Watch. 1. The Cyclops. Not a metaphor, not a hallucination, an actual giant that eats actual men, on screen, in front of you. That's supernatural. 2. The underworld. Odysseus sails to the land of the dead and has full conversations with dead people. Ghosts that know things. That's supernatural. 3, and this is the one that ends the argument. The blind prophet tells Odysseus his exact future. The sirens, the whirlpool, the sun god's cattle, his whole crew dying. And every word of it comes true. A prophecy that lands perfectly cannot exist in a world without gods. It's a contradiction. So no, Nolan didn't delete the gods. He moved them. Out of human form, into the storms and the sea, and fate itself. Poseidon doesn't need a face when he can just sink your ship. The godless Odyssey theory? Debunked. The evidence is all on screen. Start with a fact, a real one. Around 3,000 years ago, the Bronze Age didn't just end, it collapsed. Whole civilizations gone in a single generation. Cities burned, trade dead. Writing itself disappeared for centuries. And historians still argue about what did it. The old records blame a mysterious force nobody has ever fully identified, raiders who came out of the water and tore the ancient world apart. The Egyptians gave them a name, the people of the sea. Nobody knows who they really were. It's one of the biggest unsolved mysteries in human history. And in this movie, that same threat hangs over everything. The people from the sea. Villages burned, towns wiped out, everyone terrified, nobody sure who they are. The film keeps circling the question the whole way through. Who are they? Then Odysseus answers it, and his answer takes one of history's great mysteries and drives it straight through his own heart. He turns to Penelope, and he says 4 words. You are the people from the sea. Them. Odysseus and his men. The raiders the whole world's been dreading. It was him. Every village he burned for supplies. Every town his crew tore through getting home. They were the monsters. They were the force that ends an entire age of civilization. He just never saw it, because when you're the one holding the torch, you never once think you're the villain. And now Zeus's law comes all the way back around. Remember it. You treat every stranger as sacred, because any one of them could be a god. Odysseus spent this whole journey breaking that law, taking what he wanted, burning what he didn't. He didn't just lose his way home. He became the exact thing that law was written to stop. His own private sin and the collapse of the ancient world turn out to be the same event. That's what the entire film has been building toward. Confirmed. The monster everyone feared was us the whole time. By now you've probably heard the comparison. The Odyssey is basically Oppenheimer again. Same haunted genius, same world-ending weapon, same guilt eating him alive. And they're right. But they're all missing the one difference that's the entire point. Oppenheimer ends in the dark. That last look on his face. The line, I believe we did, destroy the world. That's despair. No way out. The man gets swallowed whole by the thing he built. This movie takes that exact man and gives him something Oppenheimer never got. A way home. Because Odysseus does the same damage. Builds the weapon. The Trojan Horse. Ends an age. Carries the same guilt. Nolan even shoots the horse the way he shot the bomb. Hauled around, propped up, handled with this careful dread. A terrible object dressed as a triumph. Same man. Same wound. But the Odyssey doesn't leave him in the dark. It lets him put the weapon down. Face his wife. Choose exile over one more act of violence. Actually try to heal. Where Oppenheimer ends on the destruction, this one ends on the man deciding to become something better than what he did. Same guilt, opposite ending. One is a warning. This one is almost a prayer. So yes, it's a sequel to Oppenheimer, confirmed. But it's the version where Nolan finally lets the man who broke the world find a little peace. And that's exactly why it hits different than anything else he's made. Quick thing, if that's the kind of read on these movies you're not getting anywhere else, that's the whole point of this channel. Subscribe and stick around. Okay, back to it. Every theory I've walked you through in this video, the Cyclops, the witch, the monsters, all of it, you've got exactly one source for, Odysseus. And that's a problem, because Odysseus is the most famous liar in the history of storytelling. Look at how the movie's actually built. He's not living these adventures in front of you. He's telling them, recounting the whole voyage to the woman on the island, and later to his wife. Every monster arrives inside a story he's narrating, and in the original, this is a man who lies as easily as he breathes, invents whole identities, spins whole histories, whatever gets him through the door. So ask the ugly question, did a giant really eat his men in a cave? Or did he lose them to a mutiny, a bad call, a mistake he can't say out loud, and a monster did it, is just easier to carry home? A dead crew needs an explanation. Monsters are a cleaner one than the truth. This is where it lands. You can't prove any of it. Either way, he built it so you couldn't. But watch the one thing he never dresses up. The guilt. He'll turn a massacre into a monster. He will not turn himself into a hero. The lies protect his pride. They never once protect his conscience. Unconfirmed on the monsters, dead certain on the man. Watch the final shot. Odysseus and Penelope sailing west, into the sun. After all of it, the sea finally looks like peace. Don't trust it, because the sea is the one thing in this whole story that never forgives him. It took his men. It took his youth. It took 20 years he can't get back. And here's what Nolan quietly left out. In the older story, that voyage west isn't the end of Odysseus. It's the setup for how he dies. Somewhere in the years he was lost, Odysseus fathered a son with the witch on the island, a boy he never met, from an affair Nolan cut clean out of this movie. That boy grows up. He crosses the water looking for the father he never knew, and he kills him. At Odysseus's own shore, the two of them strangers until the blade is already in, neither one knowing the truth until it's done. And it lands a prophecy the film leaves on the table. In Homer, the blind prophet gave Odysseus one more warning past the one about his crew, that his death would come, one day, from the sea. Nolan filmed the warning about the men. He left this one out. So the movie ends on a sunset. Nolan wanted to let this man rest, and God knows he earned it. But the sea always comes back for Odysseus. It came for his crew, his home, his youth. And in the story Nolan was too kind to put on screen, it sends his own son to hand him the ending he's been running from since the night Troy burned. The movie says he finally made it home. The oldest story says home was only ever a place to wait. That's where I'll leave it, unconfirmed, because Nolan shuts the door before the sea can come back. But you know it's out there, and so does he. Step back from all 8, and they stop being separate theories. They're one. Nolan took the oldest hero in the world, the clever king, the winner, the man every kid grows up rooting for, and quietly made him the villain of his own story. The goddess was his guilt. The monsters might be his lies. The people the whole world feared were him. Every mystery in this movie is the same wound, turned a different way. He didn't make an adventure. He made a confession. And every time it matters, he refuses to answer. Is Athena real? Did the monsters happen? Does the sea come back for him? He won't say, because the Odyssey was always a story told out loud, bent a little by every mouth that ever carried it. 3,000 years of people arguing about what it means. Now it's your turn. So, was he guided home? Or haunted the whole way there? Tell me below. On this one, I really want to know what you saw.